My name's Justin Nault. I own Clovis, how eating fat can save your life. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about macronutrients, and we're gonna take all the advice, all the things that you've learned from school since you were a little kid, all the mainstream nutrition, we're gonna untangle all the nonsense, flip it on its head, and fix your health. I'm gonna give you some information that you did not have, all centered around macronutrients. Macronutrients, particularly the three major macronutrient groups, that is fat, protein, and carbohydrates. So we're going to talk about how eating fat can save your life. The reason I want to talk about this is a lot of people in the academy, the newbies, all the new people that have come in, they start tracking, they get their app, they get their macros from me, they get their approved foods list, they're gung-ho ready to go, and they feel a little defeated on day 1, day 2, day 3. They're like, well, I went way over on my fat and I'm way under on my carbs, or way over on my carbs and way low on my protein. I didn't hit the numbers, womp, 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 right? So I really want to talk about macronutrients for that reason, so we can talk about the 3 different macronutrients. So put it this way, like I just saw the movie Ready Player One. I read the book years ago, it was fantastic. I was super pumped when they made a movie. And if you've read the book or seen the movie, that takes place in this kind of video game, virtual reality world, and they need to collect the 3 keys for the big ultimate prize thing, right? So the 3 keys, and I was thinking about this, that's basically what the major macronutrients are. These are the 3 keys to optimal human health. I'm gonna give you all 3 of those keys: fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Macros are literally the keys to human health. So above all else, you need to learn about these 3 important macronutrients if you want to have a shot at a healthy life. They are that important. They're everything. Now notice, I said macronutrients. I never once mentioned calories. So I actually changed this. When I make macronutrients for people now, I don't even give them their total caloric amount. I used to do that, but then people were like, hey, I'm hitting my macronutrients, or I'm almost hitting my macronutrients, but I'm short of my calories. People kept worrying about these damn calories. So I just stopped giving people calories altogether because they're literally useless. Follow the macros and it will work itself out. So stay to the end of this video. If you stay to the end, you will know everything that you need to know about the 3 major macronutrient groups and how to optimize them to live a long, healthy life. And for those of you that wanted science, we're getting back to a little bit of science, right? So we've been, I've been pumping the brakes in the science thing because I don't like going over people's heads. So I think tonight's the perfect combination of not going over people's heads, but giving you exactly what you need to know about all these macronutrients. Once I get into macronutrients, I want you to really pay attention, right? Because what I think may happen with this video is some people are in a position in the academy where they're going to understand what I'm saying. They're going to say, oh, this is awesome, and hear some words they've heard before. This might be new stuff for some of you. So, I just want you to make sure you're in a quiet place. Try to just really be able to pay attention to your screen, because we're going to get into some light, what I call light beginners biochemistry, just a little bit, but it's going to be mostly just summaries and general information that can really help you lock down this macronutrient thing. So we're talking about changing your life here. And for those of you that don't know, again, Academy members, you've heard this before. Those of you that are new to me, I just want to give you a little background. My name is Justin Nault, and I am the founder of Clovis. I founded Clovis back in 2014. I am a certified nutritional therapist. I am a certified specialist in sports nutrition. I invented a line of nutritional powders called the Perfect Paleo Powder. I invented them in my kitchen back in 2014, and now they're for sale all over the place on the internet. Also, I have helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with one-on-one nutrition consulting. That's what I do. That's my main jam, is helping people change their lives for the better. In just the last 2 months alone, I've made over 315 custom nutrition plans with custom macronutrients. That's right, 315 people in 60 days, and the results have been staggering. We've had people lose 50 pounds in 6 weeks, 20 pounds in 6 weeks, 40 pounds in 60 days, 11 pounds in 7 days. Crazy. Basically, any type of result that you can think of, fat loss, we've done it. We've improved people's health over and over and over, hundreds and hundreds of people. Now that you know a little bit about me, hope you trust me, let's dive in. We're going to talk about macronutrients, how eating fat can save your life. Okay, again, we got a lot of questions about what happens when you go over one macro, under another macro, miss your macros altogether. What happens if I go over or under on certain macros? And the answer is it's different for every single macronutrient. That's why this AMA is going to have 3 sections, and I'm going to hit every single macronutrient for you, okay? So I'm going to break them down one by one, because each macro must be handled properly, must be handled with care. We have fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call them carbohydrates. Understand that anytime I am talking about carbohydrates, I am talking about net carbohydrates. Things like dietary fiber, the human body can't digest them. They're a moot point, literally. So total carbohydrates minus dietary fiber equals net carbs. use those as interchangeable terms right now. Anytime I say carbohydrates, I am using the term carbohydrates as usable carbohydrates. Usable carbohydrates equals net carbohydrates. So anytime I say carbs or carbohydrates, we're talking about usable carbohydrates, just to keep things simple, okay? So these macros are the 3 keys to optimal health, and I'm gonna tell you about all of them. Let's get started. As you guys know, I like to talk about beliefs. Beliefs are in charge of everything. Your belief system is what dictates your behavior. And the problem with that is a lot of the beliefs that we hold, we've held our entire lives, and we don't know why. Because some well-meaning grown-up told us something when we were 8, and we decided to hang on to that forever, which is what the US government does. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about first. Belief number 1, this is kind of a 3-part belief number 1, is basically eating fat will make me fat / raise my cholesterol / kill me, right? Eating fat will kill me. Eating fat's going to give me bad cholesterol, it's going to make me fat, it's going to kill me, right? That's what the mainstream has led you to believe. Low fat everything. Low fat yogurt, low fat milk, eat lean chicken breast with no fat. Don't eat red meat because it has fat in it, saturated fat, blah, 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 right? Let me explain something to you. In terms of your overall health, fat is the single most important macronutrient, and I want it to make up most of your diet. That's right. I want you to eat more fat than anything else. Literally. That is the key to a long, happy life. Fat should be the #1 macronutrient in your diet. So when we talk about macronutrient ratios, the different percentages of fat, protein, and carbohydrates, fat is at the top of the list, okay? So sometimes people will say, oh, well, my fat grams are less than my protein grams. Yes, that's because fat has more calories per gram. This is also why the low-fat craze started, because people believed in calories, that more calories means you're going to get fat and less calories means you're going to lose weight. We know that's wrong because there's a giant obesity epidemic, so clearly that doesn't work. But that's the reason why when I give you macros, your fat number may be less than protein because there's more calories. So it is actually more fat, just contained in less grams. Does that make sense? Okay, so the doctors have had this wrong for decades. Eating fat does not make you fat. Eating fat does not make you fat. Eating fat makes you thin. And if you don't believe me, or you need it from someone who's more famous than I am, check out the book Eat Fat, Get Thin by Dr. Mark Hyman, for Eat Fat, Get Thin. Dr. Mark Hyman. That's a fantastic book. And it actually explains the source of where all this fat nonsense came from. And it's all political, lobbies, money, nonsense, literally genocide for the sake of money. That's why we believe that low fat is good. Also read Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It by Gary Taubes. That is investigative journalism at its finest. Goes through all the nutrition information from the last several decades, and none of it points to fat being bad for you. None of it, none of it, none of it. That's right, none of it. And we still have the food pyramid and all this nonsense, right? So let's go to the cholesterol question. What if I told you that in the 1950s, big sugar companies paid off scientists to create false clinical studies that linked dietary fat to heart disease? That's exactly what happened, okay? This is not a secret. They were paid off. They were paid $5,000 at the time, which in 2018 money is somewhere around the equivalent of $50,000. So these guys get paid $50,000. They release a false report linking dietary fat to heart disease, and as a result, we've had 40 years of genocide and an obesity epidemic. It's insanity, right? This is a public article. This was released in the New York Times in 2015. Somehow people missed it? No, millions of people read it. But we can't make any change. We're not the politicians. We're not the lobbyists. We can't change, and the government is too stubborn, okay? There's no link between dietary fat and heart disease whatsoever. In fact, only 25% of the cholesterol in your entire body is from your diet. Doesn't matter how much cholesterol you eat. The largest percentage of the cholesterol floating around in your body that came from your diet is going to be 25% of your total cholesterol, at most. So that means 75% of the cholesterol floating around in your body is created in your body. It's from a process called lipogenesis. So on top of that, it only makes cholesterol if it thinks it needs it. So the more fat you eat, the less cholesterol you make. So eat more fat, lower cholesterol levels. I know, that sounds crazy. And the government will not reverse their stance on this because, one, it makes them look really dumb. It's a huge problem with trust and the American people and trusting them. And then we have the lobbyist issues. There are a lot of companies selling high grain, high sugar. They're multi-billion-dollar companies, Kraft, Kellogg, whoever else, and they're paying the politicians. That's exactly how this stuff is happening. It's straight up government conspiracy. So here's an example, right? All throughout history, we're wrong. We're wrong all the time. And science, the whole point of science, is to disprove beliefs that we held prior to having better science, right? Things change when we could eventually look under a microscope and see a human cell. Would you rather get advice from a doctor from the 1940s or a doctor from 2018? Which would you rather have, right? It's the exponential growth of technology. It's a no-brainer. So take smoking, for instance. Doctors used to smoke cigarettes in the office while seeing their patients. They would prescribe certain brands of cigarettes for little kids who had asthma. Have them smoke this cigarette at every meal to help their asthma, right? We look back on that now as those people are Neanderthal cavemen. They were as stupid can be. I can't believe how dumb they were, and yet we still take nutrition advice from the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. Seems interesting, right? I mean, really. I mean, that's how crazy this is. So the thing is, what happened with cigarettes? Eventually, people figured out that cigarettes were terrible, right? That's what happens. The tides turn. That's what's going to happen with this. Right now, you're watching Justin, and I'm crazy Justin. And what does he know? He's not a doctor, and blah, 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 blah. I'm just the crazy guy that's preaching this high-fat diet to you, right? I promise you, save this video. Bookmark it on your Facebook. Rip it with some software to save a Facebook video. I'll send it to you, whatever you need me to do, right? Save this video, mark my words. 10 years from now, every single mainstream expert is going to be telling you that the only way to save your life is to lower carbohydrates, increase your fat, and take in a moderate amount of protein. That's what every single person is going to be telling you. I will no longer be crazy Justin. I will be vindicated, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Right now, I'm still doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. Okay, so what happened with cigarettes, we figure out they've been terrible for us this whole time. So finally, it takes till 1994 for there to be a class action nationwide lawsuit against the big tobacco companies because they lied to us about it not being addictive, about it not being bad to us. There's a giant class action lawsuit for billions of dollars, right? Why hasn't that happened with this fat thing? So we have science coming out that proves we need fat for every single function in our human cell. But we can't do a class action lawsuit against the government. They're the government. The government does whatever the hell it wants, whenever the hell it wants, and it's a game of money. This is where we get into conspiracy theories, but there's nothing we can do. So all you can do is read the books I'm telling you about, do your research, listen to me. The fact of the matter is widespread adoption of the food pyramid led to exponential growth in the obesity crisis for all humans, adults and children. The children one breaks my freaking heart because it's never existed throughout all of human history. There have never been obese kids, and now 19% of our kids are obese. It's disgusting. We need to burn down the food pyramid. We need to remove it from everything, right? Crazy, crazy. There's an entire wall at my nephew's school. My nephew Jackson, he has an entire wall with the food pyramid, these cute little cartoon kids climbing the food pyramid. Make sure you get your healthy whole grains and 4 servings of fruit a day and don't eat any fat, right? It's brainwashing, it's child abuse, it's genocide, straight up, okay? So now let's talk about some science. Here's the truth. Cholesterol is required for every single function in every single cell in your entire body. That's how important it is. For example, your brain, your noggin, right? The reason I can do these AMAs with you is because I have plenty of omega-3 fatty acids in my diet. I can talk for 5 hours if you need me to. My brain is sharp as a freaking tack. Now your brain is made up mostly of fat. And the largest fat that makes up your brain is DHA. So 90% of the fats in your brain are DHA. That is one of 3 different omega-3s. We'll talk about omega-3s, but it is an omega-3 fatty acid. Makes up 90% of your brain. Your neurons that fire back and forth, if I go like this, my neurons are sending signals for me to raise my arm. 50% of the weight of the membrane of that neuron is DHA. So if I don't have DHA, I'm screwed. Where does DHA come from? In the required doses, it comes from animal protein and only animal protein. Don't let anybody tell you different. Fish, meat. That's it, right? So we'll talk about the omega-3s that's found in plants because that's completely different. But I'm going to tell you a story. I have a genetic cholesterol disorder called FH. FH is familial hypercholesterolemia. It's still difficult for me to say. Familial hypercholesterolemia. Layman's terms, I genetically have high cholesterol no matter what I do. So for that reason, that's my problem and your benefit. And I say that because I trust my heart health to a guy named Dr. William Cromwell. William Cromwell is in Raleigh and Durham, and I fly out there. It's North Carolina, right? Yeah, I think so. We're next to Duke University. But I fly out there just to meet with Dr. Cromwell because he's considered one of the top living cholesterol experts on planet Earth. The guy is that good. I fly to North Carolina just to see him. And I spend 5 hours with him when I go out there. We do ultrasound. We look at any potential plaque, my arteries. I pick his brain on everything you can possibly think of. It's that important. This is the guy that I go to, one of the top living cholesterol experts in the world. That's where the knowledge I'm about to drop on you comes from. So trust me, you're getting this from an incredibly good source, okay? And much more expensive than you're currently paying for this information, which is zero, okay? So quick lesson about cholesterol. If you go to a lipid panel with your doctor, normal traditional doctor, not a cholesterol expert, not a functional medicine doctor who has training in nutrition, you say, I want a lipid panel, I want to check out my cholesterol, right? They're going to give you HDL, LDL, they'll give you total cholesterol, they'll give you triglycerides. And they'll say, your total cholesterol is high, you're going to die, we need to put you on a statin. They're using numbers that are useless, okay? They break it down, way oversimplified, HDL good, LDL bad, triglycerides bad because that's stored body fat. It says nothing about particle numbers. Particle numbers tell the entire story. Total cholesterol tells us nothing. Now I did do this in one AMA before. Picture your arteries as an interstate, right? Your interstate is flowing traffic. You have cars, trucks, and you have passengers. The passengers are the cholesterol. The passengers are trying to go to work. They're trying to go do their job, but they need a way to get there. They need to commute. They commute in cars and trucks. Cars, LDL, tiny little particles, right? Small, low density lipoprotein. HDL, trucks, bigger, high density lipoprotein, right? So they're all carrying passengers. Now, it's not the number of passengers that causes a traffic jam. It's the number of vehicles, the number of particles. If you have more particles, the particles bump into each other, bump off of each other, hit the wall of the artery where there's tiny little cracks, boom, they get stuck. Now you have a traffic jam, boom, 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 a pileup that's stuck to the arteries, and that pileup rupturing is what causes these big heart episodes, all right? So that's how this works. The particle number tells the story, and most of your insurance will not cover tests with particle numbers. That's how screwed up this is. If you had a lipid panel done from your normal primary care doctor and they didn't tell you particle numbers, you wasted your time. They stuck you with a needle for no reason, okay? So the problem is not the little cars, LDL, not even that bad, HDL, healthy cholesterol, right? The issue is VLDL, very low density lipoprotein. Think of these as little mopeds or smart cars, right? Who would drive that on a highway? I don't know. It's crazy, right? These tiny, tiny little cars. Excess carbohydrates get converted into VLDL, very low density lipoprotein, in your liver, spit out into your bloodstream. So now you get a traffic jam, you have these tiny little particles, they get bumped, hit the wall, they stick instantly. Instantly. So you need your VLDL particle number to know anything about your cholesterol risk. If you send me blood work and it doesn't have it, I don't want to see it. People keep sending me their cholesterol numbers and saying, here, Justin, check this out. Am I at risk? Am I at risk? I don't know. You're giving me a basic lipid panel. I can't do anything with that information, literally nothing, okay? So anyway, long story short, eat more fat, you'll get higher HDL particles, more trucks. You may get higher total cholesterol, which is not a problem. Possibly higher LDL, but probably not. Your LDL will probably go down. Also required for human survival. LDL is not as bad as you think it is. Now, VLDL is the dangerous stuff. Lower carbohydrates, you get lower VLDL, period. That's biochemistry. That's the only place that VLDL comes from, okay? And you'll get lower triglycerides since fat is not being stored, it's being utilized for energy. Long story short, eat fat, improve cholesterol. So one thing I want to hit on real quick is hormones. This is a super quick, super simple thing. Cholesterol is a precursor for all steroid hormones. You cannot create any steroid hormones without cholesterol. So I want you to think about it. Cholesterol is a precursor for all steroid hormones, yes, including testosterone, dudes. I had a couple guys ask me about testosterone. This is where we're really going to talk about testosterone, okay? Steroid hormones control your metabolism, inflammation, immune system, salt and water balance, development of sexual characteristics, and the ability to withstand physical injury. That's right. With less testosterone, you're more prone to get injured in the gym, doing CrossFit, or some stuff like that. This is where the low T problem comes from, right? The low T problem has only been around, low T commercials on the radio and TV. This has never been a thing throughout all of human history. It's like childhood obesity. This has never been a thing. Never been a thing until we started putting men on low-fat diets. You go to the doctor, oh, you got that beer belly, we need to put you on a low-fat diet. Then all of a sudden you hear a commercial, fellas, have things changed in the bedroom? Are you feeling sluggish and fatigued? You don't have that same sparkle in your eye when you look at your wife, right? No, dude, you just are eating low fat and you don't have testosterone. That's the issue. Erectile dysfunction is not a real thing. Erectile dysfunction is a term, look this up. Like I'm saying, I'm not some secret holder. Look this up. Erectile dysfunction was a term that was invented by a marketing company that Pfizer, who sells Viagra, paid to come up with the term. It's not a real thing, okay? So dudes, you keep asking me about how to boost your testosterone. If you have a hot date tomorrow, right now while you're watching this, if you have a hot date tomorrow night, I want you to eat 6 to 8 whole eggs and take down a 12-ounce ribeye, fat, marbled ribeye loaded with cholesterol. Put that down, I guarantee you'll have a better date than you would have had. This stuff is simple, people. It's biochemistry, but people don't put 2 and 2 together. Why the food pyramid adoption goes like this, and the low T problem goes like this. And the obesity epidemic goes like this, and childhood obesity goes like this. How do we not put this together? It's logical thinking, right? Logical. Now, so eat fat, boost testosterone, dudes. Also, there are no blanket statements. I want you to understand. I can't fully practice what I preach here because I have a genetic condition called familial hypercholesterolemia. Everyone's different. I can't actually do what I tell you to do, the same macronutrient ratios. I need much higher protein and slightly less fat than I tell you to eat. The only thing that I have to worry about is saturated fat because I have an LDL receptor issue. That's familial hypercholesterolemia, okay? You don't have that. Do what I'm telling you to do. But what I'm trying to get across is individualized nutrition. No 2 people are alike. I call you guys beautiful snowflakes in the academy. You're all beautiful snowflakes. That's why when you come to me, it's on an individual basis. People ask me all the time, guys ask me, dude, what do you do? Justin, what do you do? I want to do what you do. No, you don't, man. Because you don't have the same blood work as me. You don't have the same genetics as me. I have spent tens of thousands, tens of thousands. I could have bought houses with the money that I have spent on biohacking and learning about myself, genetic testing and blood work all the time. Functional medicine doctors, $400 an hour, right? So let me impart this knowledge on you. You don't want to do what I do. Let me teach you what to do, okay? So what happens if I go over my fat macro? Nothing, assuming that you adjust your carbohydrates accordingly. And we're going to get there when we talk about net carbs. That was a lot of stuff. Let's take a little break. Fat is number 1. Yes, Brittany. Even vegetarians eat fat. And pescatarians. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it not, incredibly, ridiculously science-y. Give us the geek stuff. I am giving you the geek stuff. I promise. I'll give you a preview of geek stuff. You don't want geek stuff. You think you want geek stuff. Everybody thinks they want geek stuff. Trust me. When you spend thousands of hours studying biochemistry, you don't want geek stuff anymore, okay? All right, so let's talk about number 2. Again, we're going on beliefs. All right, so let's talk about number 2. Again, we're going on beliefs here. So what's a big belief that I get a lot? Animal protein can kill you, particularly red meat.